Hi everybody, I'm Brendan McKeon and we're out here at my farm in Tambor, Costa Rica today, and we're going to be talking about underplanting in a food forest. And the food forest that we're sitting in here on my farm it's about 3 years into production, and we have a huge mix of food going on in here. We have our overstory fruit trees, we have our interplanted understory fruit trees, we have bananas interplanted between that, tons of nitrogen fixing plants, other dynamic accumulators. Right here next to me is a caliandra plant. It's something that's really good for the soil and helps bring up the minerals from deep in the earth to the surface. Right here next to me we have ginger plant. We planted about 2 acres of understory underneath our food forest in ginger this year, and we're going to be exporting it. Our farm's certified organic, and we're going to be exporting it to Europe and Canada this year. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we planted this and how it interacts with this food forest system, and I'm going to just talk briefly about the food forest system, because very soon we're going to do another video going more in depth on agroforestry and food forests. The ginger, as most people know, is one of the most medicinal, high powerful healing plants on the planet, and it's a rhizome. The ginger grows from underneath. Here in a minute I'll dig one up so you can kind of check it out, and it's amazing for curing so many different sicknesses. Anytime I'm getting a cold or my kids are getting a cold, we boil that up with usually with a little bit of honey and some cayenne pepper, and drink that up, and it's amazing the curing results that has. You can do more research specifically on ginger and all the medicinal properties of it, but to talk a little bit about how we plant this, ginger it's a rhizome, so it likes to go deep in the soil. It likes nice soft soils. And so what we did here is we came in first with a small rototiller, a handheld rototiller, and we rototilled the soil up and kind of had to, work very carefully, because we're in between all this other system, this food forest system that's going on. So we very carefully rototilled out the ground, and then we came in and we laid out contour mounds that we were going to plant our ginger in. And so we got our mounds going, and you can kind of see how this is mounded up here. And then we have swales, little mini contour swales in between each of our beds. We planted in this system, we planted about 3 seeds wide, and they're about, give or take, about 8 inches apart. So we have 8 inches spacing going across the bed, and so our bed in total is about 1 meter wide, and it's, we did our spacing every 15 centimeters. And all we really did at that point, once we had our beds ready, we amended our beds with some of our organic homemade compost fertilizer that we make, mix that in a little bit, and then we just made our 3 holes. We take the ginger rhizome, so the rhizome itself is actually the seed, and so this year when we dig all this up, we'll separate all the big nice stuff that we're going to sell, that we're going to export, and then all the little pieces that naturally break off in the process of harvesting will become our seed for next year. To do the amount of land we did here, I keep converting back and forth. Down here we talk about hectareas. In the US it's acres. The equivalent of 2.5 acres is 1 hectarea, and you need around 1,500 to 2,000 kilos of ginger, which is approximately 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of ginger seed to plant that amount of area out. Depending on your soils, depending on how well you take care of it, you're looking at getting anywhere from 5 to 15 times the yield per the amount that you plant. So we planted, like I said, about 1,800 kilos this year, and so we're hoping to get about 10,000 kilos return, and it could be more than that, it could be a little less than that, but that's kind of what we're shooting for. So like I was saying, we just we dropped our ginger seeds. We used pieces that were about that big. The main important thing is you want to look at the the rhizome and make sure it has 3 nodes on it. The nodes are the point at where the root's going to come out, after you plant it. And so you want to make sure it has 2 to 3 of those little eyes, and they're really obvious to see when you look at a ginger rhizome. And you want to plant those, and you kind of want to position them in a way where the way your ginger plant's going to grow, like we said, we planted these kind of spaced closer together going across the bed, and then a little bit more spacing, so they're about 15 centimeters apart going across the bed, and then they're about 25 centimeters in between each little row of ginger. And so we were turning our ginger root, our rhizome, in a way that it was going to grow long ways, so that it has more space to actually spread out. So we drop that in there, we come back, we just cover it up, and then we mulched over, and we kind of, you mulch with whatever you have readily available in such a huge area like we had here. This year we used coffee husk, dried coffee husk. Rice hulls would work really good. And that was just for our initial planting, right after we got it in. You want to mulch it really good, and that gives a space for the bacteria, the microorganisms to live. It protects the rhizomes as they're starting to shoot. It protects them from the heavy sun and rain. And so we put a light mulch on, and then we let them go for maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And basically what you're looking for is when you start to see the fresh ginger rhizome, the new growth, starting to peek its way out of the soil, then you know it's time to come back and do your mounding. Ginger's kind of like potatoes. You want to mound it. You want to continue to mound it, and that will give it more room, and it will just keep on growing. And so we come back. First thing we do is we spread another layer of our compost on there, and then we take and we dig out our swales, our desaguas, which we call here in Costa Rica, but our contour swales. We dig those out, make those a little deeper, and then we mound the soil back on top. And then at that point, what we do for the next layer of mulch is we chop and drop. So we, kind of timed it this year where the chop and drop for this agroforestry system for our food forest here was nice and full and ready with that month and a half, 2 month period when we knew we were going to mound our ginger. So we came in, we chop and drop. Here we're using Flamengia, we're using Perot. Perot is a super strong, fast-growing nitrogen fixer here, along with the Flamengia. We have the Caliandra, which is not a nitrogen fixer, but it has lots of dense nutrients in it. It's the one I talked about. That's a dynamic accumulator. We chop and drop that. We drop banana leaves, and really anything else that has extra foliage on it, extra growth, we can use. But we love focusing on the nitrogen fixers because they put more nitrogen in the soil. So that's the basics. We come back, we mound it. We'll do that about 3 times during the growing season. The ginger gets thick pretty fast, and so it acts as it kind of creates its own shade. So we don't have a huge amount of weeding that we have to do in here, but we definitely come through like every couple weeks and we weed it. We're also foliar spraying with our organic fertilizers that we make here on the farm, and so we're foliar spraying every 2 weeks. Now, ginger is a heavy feeder. The more you give it, the more it will grow, and it also has a period where if you don't keep up with the nutrient intake, it will take up all the nutrients, and then you put your next feeding on it, and what will happen is it will kind of slow down for a week in that time that it takes for it to uptake those nutrients and start using them again. So you want to kind of keep with a strict schedule. Ginger will take about three weeks. Once we spray it with those fertilizers, it will use that for about 3 weeks. That's why we come in every 2 weeks, so we have that little window of that week for our new fertilizers to start acting, and for the last fertilizer we did to have that week where it's going to start to die out. And so we do that overlapping period, and so the ginger never slows down, it never takes a rest, it just keeps on growing. So I'm going to just talk real briefly about what a food forest is and what agroforestry is, because we're going to do a whole video with in-depth information on that soon. The idea is we're taking a human system where we're producing food, and we're we're creating that system to mimic nature, to actually be as close to a natural forest as possible. And so instead of just doing a horizontal growing system like you would in a traditional orchard where you have a fruit tree spaced out every 8 meters, every 25 feet or so, right? And nothing planted in between, we're taking that idea and we're gonna plant our fruit trees, our overstory fruit trees, at our traditional spacing, and then we're gonna fill all that other space in between with things that are gonna complement and work as guilds to create a really diverse system. A diverse system for humans, a diverse system for animals, a diverse system for where most of these plants are actually gonna thrive a lot more than they would individually. And so we have, if you can see this palm behind me, that's kind of our main overstory. We have our emerging overstory palms, and then we have what we consider our overstory fruit trees. Then we have our understory fruit trees, and then we have our ground covers, and then we have our vines that are going to be climbing trees and producing food off of the vines. We can put all sorts of different interplanting in here, like we're using the ginger this year. We're also planting all sorts of different roots in our agroforestry food forest systems. And then we fill all that space in with beneficial plants for the soil, so dynamic accumulators, nitrogen fixing plants, medicinals, flowering plants to attract the beneficial insects. We're just creating this dynamic, amazing system that's going to work together to create for so many different things. Like I said, for more really good detailed information, we're going to be putting out a video on that really soon. Thanks for coming out today. Thanks for supporting permaculture. Help us spread the word across the planet. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you really soon.
Enrique, descansaré hasta que me muera.